no, he will never get.
I call Jonathan Young.
Mr Speaker, can I please start by just addressing an issue that Mr Mallard raised regarding the hearings in Auckland where a member from the Salvation Army made a comment. I was concerned about that comment and so investigated that. So after the statement was made, and the statement was that members of the organisation were muzzled from appearing before the committee, officials sought to clarify and understand that statement made to the committee. At that point, the Salvation Army made it clear that the Ministry of Health had not instructed the Salvation Army against making a submission to the Select Committee in respect of the International Convention Centre Bill. The comments made to the Select Committee related to an interpretation of the political neutrality clause that is standard in the health sector service contracts. That clause is about the relevant non-government organisation delivering their services in a manner that maintains the neutrality of central government agencies, which is a requirement of the State Services Commission. The meaning of that clause was clarified for the Salvation Army during the conversation with officials. The Salvation Army says it now understands that the clause means they are entitled to make submissions and voice their opinion, but cannot endeavour to influence the thinking or decision-making of other individuals or organisations or agencies. Sir, and the member knows that that is a consistent regulation and guidance in terms of the State Services Commission. Sir, this bill is about creating economic growth, particularly in tourism and construction, and seeing the spin-offs around the country of significant numbers of more convention centre participants coming to New Zealand. The size of the international business events market is growing. The International Congress and Convention Association estimates there are approximately 10,070 non-government international association conferences organised in the world in 2011, but only 44 of these were held in New Zealand. This is due in part to New Zealand not having the right facilities to attract larger conferences. So, addressing the harm issues around gambling, which the Minister Stephen Joyce raised, is very much part of this bill. Increasing Sky City's obligations to do so is embedded in this legislation. But also central to this legislation is addressing the issue around job creation. Let's not minimise that. The people who I have had contact with, and I'm sure members of this House have all had contact with, who struggle with long-term unemployment, suffer depression, suffer loss of confidence, some poor health, and very poor social outcomes. So in the research that I did, I noticed that a number of academics at universities, Massey University, Auckland University, state, and I quote from the Policy Quarterly, November 2010, on an article, Health, Employment and Recession, said increasing unemployment is associated with a wide range of adverse social outcomes, particularly when prolonged. The writer said unemployment also has significant acute impacts on health, particularly poorer mental health status. Unemployment is a major contributor to reduced incomes and is itself related to significant adverse social and health outcomes. Mr. Speaker, this bill is principally about encouraging economic growth and increasing employment. But of course we acknowledge that for some in our community, gambling-related harm is a terrible thing. It is something which we can and should do something about. And this bill, leveraging off the agreement between Sky City and the government, lifts the bar on harm minimisation obligations. I believe that we can see development and positive change in addressing this issue. Professor Del Fabro, who is Associate Professor at University of Adelaide, reported to the Gambling Commission that New Zealand regulatory environment is rigorous, as the Minister said, and continues to say that the Auckland Casino's current host responsibility program is of a high standard internationally. So one of the measures that Sky City is obligated to put in place is a predictive model created by Focal Research, which analyses loyalty data as a tool to identify players who are at risk from gambling harm. The Australian regulations only stipulate that casinos do something about those who are harmed, whereas here in New Zealand, which is why New Zealand is seen as a world leader in harm minimisation, that we have to put in place tools and technologies to identify players who are at risk. So as these technologies and tools are developed, there is every opportunity that these can be extended right throughout the country. It is our understanding that Sky City's development of this tool is an international first. This is about building those measures and contingencies in place. Sir, the regulatory concessions in no way remove Sky City from continuous review of their host responsibility program, as the Green minority view in the commentary of this bill stated. They do not escape the issues around public health scrutiny. The Gambling Act 2003 required casino operators to implement a range of measures to prevent harm from casino gambling. And as we know, sir, every 2 years that is reviewed. Sir, the Gambling Commission considered whether there was a need for an additional independent evaluation of the effectiveness of the Auckland Casino's host responsibility program. A number of submitters raised this as an issue. The Commission felt no such need, as they undertake such an evaluation in the course of their periodic reviews of casino host responsibility programs. It does so by consulting with a range of knowledgeable parties as well as seeking independent expert assistance. The committee also informed that the Department of Internal Affairs inspectors continue to walk through the casino on a very regular basis. So, as I've said, this bill is what it does is create a significant economic opportunity for tourism, hospitality, for retailing, construction and convention centre activities, which will create employment opportunities for New Zealand. And it also places on Sky City a very serious obligation to develop and put in place measures that will identify people who are at risk from gambling harm. So this bill will maximise the positive opportunities of economic growth and employment, while also proactively developing technologies and practices that will identify potential gambling-related harm and work to reduce that. Sir, I commend this bill to the House.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrave.
Mr Speaker, the one thing that is lost on the government as we debate this issue is that there is a process that should have been gone through to come to an appropriate outcome. And it may be that some of the things the government says are true. There may be